ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Sanatana Shiksha series. Yesterday we discussed the eighth Dasha Mula Tattva, Achintya Bheda Bheda, relationship between Lord Krishna and everything, this world and even the Jivas. There is a Achintya Bheda relationship. This we studied the eighth Dasha Mula Tattva, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur has to say in Bhakti Aloka. We saw some of the points. And these first 7 realities, which are drawn from the Amnaya, from the Vedas, what constitutes Sambandha Gyan? They constitute Sambandha Gyan. So after finishing this discussion of the part of the Bhakti Alokas, Dashamula Tattva, first 8, we came back to Sanatan Goswami's answers given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ki Ami, who am I and why am I suffering the threefold miseries? So, Ki Ami, in respect to that, Mahaprabhu is answering, Jivera Swarup Hoy, Krishnera Nitdas. You are a Jiva. By your Swarupa, you are the servant of Krishna. And you are the Tatastha Shakti of Krishna. And there is Bheda Bhed. Just like Surya Kiran and Jwalagni, between sunshine and sun, and the fire and the sparks of fire. So a lot of references also Mahaprabhu gives to substantiate his point. He gives the reference from the Puranas, and then the Jiva's characteristics. There are 3 Shaktis of the Lord, the Chitta Shakti, the Tatastha Shakti, the Jiva Shakti, or the Maya Shakti. Chitta Shakti, Jiva Shakti, Maya Shakti. These are the terms used, or it is Antaranga Shakti, Bhairanga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. or the internal potency, the external potency, and the marginal potency. So Mahaprabhu discusses about that and the jiva's characteristics, that it can be either in the material world or in the spiritual world, and it is now in the material world influenced by avidya, and it is now going through the suffering of threefold miseries. And in different material forms, if it is in higher forms, he is to that degree freed from the material energy. In the low forms, he is more bound, and like that, he is going up and down, just like uh, a person is drowned in the river and then is taken out. So sometimes in Swarg enjoying, sometimes in Nark suffering. So how to come of all this illusion? By bhakti. That was the last verse where uh, where the solution was given. By practicing bhakti, I'll come to that verse. By practicing bhakti, bhayam dutya abhinivesha sat. Then, because you're absorbed in this material energy, there is fear. But then, by practicing unalloyed devotion to the spiritual master, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the worshipable deity and the source of everything, one can become free from it. So, this was where we yesterday ended our discussion. So, now I found it relevant to discuss the last two Dashamula Tattvas, the ninth and the 10th. Although the references for this in the Sanatana Shiksha will come later on, but I thought it is important because now Mahaprabhu has answered, who am I and why am I suffering? But now the next two questions of Sanatana Goswami is Sadhya and Sadhana. So sadhana is bhakti and sadhya is prem. So bhakti is abhidheya and prem is prayojan. So if you remember, the ninth Dashamula Tattva is sadhanayam bhaktim, shuddha bhaktim, and tad priti prayojanam. And attaining love of Godhead is the prayojan. So I found it relevant that we discuss these two Dashamula Tattvas also, and then go to further in the Sanatana Shiksha, and here Mahaprabhu answers Sadhya and Sadhana. Again, that discussion flow is quite different, and we will see that how where the Dashamula Tattvas Mahaprabhu is pointing out, that we will do that exercise later on. But up till now, we have seen in the answer to Kiyami and why am I suffering threefold miseries, three Dashamula Tattvas are there. The fifth one, Vibhinnamsha Jivas. The eighth one, Bheda Bheda Prakash, Achinta Bheda Bhed. And the third one, Sarva Shaktiman. Sarva Shakti. He is the possessor of all potencies. So the three potencies were discussed. So till now we have seen three of the Dashamula Tattvas Mahaprabhu has presented in his answers to the first two questions of Sanatana Goswami. Now the next two answers, Sadhya and Sadhana, Mahaprabhu will explain, but let us first see ninth and 10th Dashamula Tattva. Pure devotional service is the Abhidheya. So I hope it is clear with the discussion up till now, the whole preview what I gave. So any questions or any clarifications anyone has about it? Any questions or any clarifications? No. Okay. So let us now go to the 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 ninth Dashamula Tattva. When the living entity's relationship with the Lord is revived by the association of Amnaya, then Abhidheya is understood. Now, once you understand that my relationship with Krishna is there, and you start acting, you start reviving that relationship by following the teachings of the Vedas, how to revive that relationship, then uh, that is Abhidheya. That is Abhidheya. Devotional service to Sri Krishna is that Abhidheya. Oh, just now I said, and it is here the statement, devotional service. So that relationship between the Jiva and the Krishna, which is forgotten because of our connection to Maya, that relationship is revived by the process of bhakti. And bhakti is Abhidheya. The purport is that whatever the scriptures specify as one's prime's duty is called Abhidheya. Beautiful definition of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, what is the Jiva's duty? To serve the Lord. So that is Abhidheya then. In this regard, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22, 17 and 18. So in the Madhya 22, it will come now. Krishna Bhakti hai Abhidheya Pradhan Bhakti Mukta Bhakti Mukhya Niraksha Karma Yoga Gyan Ei Sab Sadhanera Ati Tuchya Bal Krishna Bhakti Vinataha Dete Nare Fal. Devotional service to Krishna is the chief function of the living entity. So what is the prime duty of the living entity? Devotional service. Krishna Bhakti hai Abhidheya Pradhan. Chief Pradhan it is. There are different methods for liberation of the conditioned soul. Karma, Jnana, Yoga. Bhakti Mukhya, Nirikshaka, Karma Yoga Jnana. But all are dependent on Bhakti. Without devotional service, all other methods for spiritual self-realization are weak and insignificant. Ye sab sadhanera ati tuchabal. These other have very tuchabal, very weak they are. Unless one comes to devotional service to Lord Krishna, Gyan and Yoga cannot give the desired service. Krishna Bhakti Vina Taha Dite Nare Fal. So the point is, it's a vast discussion for which we have to get a complete picture of the Bhagavad Gita. But just to summarize in few points, Karma Yoga, there is a small element of bhakti in it. And because that bhakti element is there, whatever person is doing Karma Yoga, the Karma Kandi, Sakam Karmi, he is getting the fruits because the bhakti element is there. And even in Ashtanga Yoga, there is an element of bhakti. So the Ashtanga Yogi attains liberation only because Bhakti Devi is present. A small element of Bhakti Devi, that Bhakti Devi gives the fruit of liberation. Even in the path of Gyan, it is Bhakti Devi which is present in small proportion, which actually gives the fruit of Gyan in the form of liberation. So, unless one comes to devotional service, Gyan and Yoga cannot give the desired results. So, this is what Mahaprabhu is, or Kaviraj Goswami is saying in this statement. Now he gives another definition of Abhidheya. Sadhana Bhakti is called Abhidheya. So Sadhana Bhakti. Sadhanayam Shuddha Bhaktin. You know, that ninth Dashamula Tattva is there. That Sadhana Bhakti is divided into two, Vaidhi and Raganuga. Vaidhi Bhakti is of many varieties. In some places, 64 limbs are given, and in some places, 9 limbs are given. So 64 limbs and 9 limbs, where they are given? Anyone who would like to answer? Where are the 64 limbs and 9 limbs given? Who will answer this? Okay, Parsarthi. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, 64 limbs should be given in Hari Bhakti Vilas, and 9 limbs. I'm not sure where the 9 limbs are given. I think by Sri Rupa Goswami. He's giving in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I think so.
Virendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada. Those 64 limbs are given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and 9 limbs in Srimad Bhagavatam.
9 limbs in?
Srimad Bhagavatam.
By whom?
By Prahlad Maharaj.
By Prahlad Maharaj. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Pada Sevanam, Archanam Vandam Dasyam, Sakyam Atmadivet. If we are all practicing bhakti, we should know what are the limbs of bhakti. So, of course, in Hari Bhakti Vilas, there are many limbs given. But Rupa Goswami mentions that in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that Sanatana Goswami has given many limbs of bhakti in his Hari Bhakti Vilas, but I have extracted only the principal among them. So the principal are 64 limbs, which Rupa Goswami has narrated in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So there are also 5 limbs which are very important. Where are they given and what are the 5 limbs? Who knows? Who will answer this? Okay. Yes, Parsati Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, here the 5 limbs have been mentioned in Sri Bhakti Aloka. One is to stay in Dham. Second is to do deity worship, to do special deity worship, really special deity worship. Then third is to read the scriptures with rasa, with people, with other devotees who are pure devotees, you know. Then
are you referring the slides or books and then answering or what?
No, I'm not referring.
Okay.
Here.
Okay. The 5 potent limbs, you know, all of us should know. There is Sadhu Sangha, Nama Sankirtan, Mathuravas, Shri Murtira Preeti Sevan, and Bhagavata Ras Aswadan, Siksa. So these are the 5
to have a very close association, to have very close association with devotees.
Sadhu Sangha, that is Sadhu Sangha. That is Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha, Mathuravas, Nama Sankirtan, and Bhagavat Shravan, and Archa Vigrah Seva, Shri Murti Shraddha Preeti Seva. So these are the 5 potent limbs, which are again part of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There is 5, then there is 9, there is 64. So these are mentioned. The preaching of the ninefold devotional service is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. So I'll not go through the translation. We know these 9 limbs. Shravanam is hearing, Kirtanam is chanting, Smaranam is remembering, Pada Sevanam is worshipping, serving the Lord, or serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Archanam is deity worship. Vandanam is offering prayers. Dasyam is serving as a servant. Sakyam is having friendship with the Lord. Atma Nivedanam is complete surrender, the soul. When a conditioned living entity engages his mind at the lotus feet of Krishna with his body, mind, and words, that is called bhakti. So what is bhakti? Savayamana Krishna Padarvindo. First, fix your mind at the lotus feet of Krishna and then engage with body, minds, and words. Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanuvarnane. With our Vachamsi, with our mouth, we should glorify Krishna. like that, even in Amrish Maharaj prayers, these will come. The differences in bhakti from karma and jnana are very subtle. The differences from bhakti with karma and jnana is many times the limbs of bhakti and karma appear similar. They look both like material activities, but there is a lot of difference. When those limbs are connected with separate desires, then they turn into limbs of karma. When those limbs are connected with right thoughts of Brahman, then they turn into limbs of Gyan. So if you are doing actions for Lord's pleasure, then it is bhakti. But you are doing actions so that you can get some fruits, then it becomes karma. You are doing study of Shastra, it is bhakti. But you are studying Shastra so that you can attain liberation. You're studying the Upanishads and Vedanta, then it becomes Gyan. So that's how it is very subtle. In some limbs, there is neither karma or Gyan involved. The fruit of karma that lead one to the service of Krishna alone is called the limbs of bhakti. So, fine details Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mentioning. The fruit of karma that lead one to his own enjoyment is called karma. The karma that leads one to merge with the Lord is called impersonal Gyan. So, when you do actions and you want to enjoy the results, then it is karma. You do actions performing severe austerities in order to attain liberation, merge in the Lord, then it is Gyan, impersonal Gyan. You do actions out of love to please the Lord, then it is Bhakti. So that is a subtle difference. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami has given the symptoms of Bhakti in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu as follows. Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadya navritam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. When first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained from monistic philosophy, and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. So this is the definition of pure devotional service. If you do actions with abhilasha, with desire, then it is karma. If you want to attain knowledge from the scriptures to attain liberation, then it is jnana avrita. Then it is, it's not bhakti. It ceases to be bhakti. So pure bhakti is defined by this. Again, it is now out of scope to discuss quite elaborately this definition. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is substantiating, giving reference of pure devotional verse just to bring out the subtle difference between karma, jnana and bhakti. To perform the limbs of devotional service according to the dictation of vidhi or prescribed rules is called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Now is defining what is Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. The service performed out of spontaneous attachment to Krishna is called Raga Bhakti. The devotion of Rajavasis is called Ragatmika, and imitation of their devotional service is called Raganuga. The Ragatmika, the eternal devotees or the Nitya Siddhas who are in the spiritual world, who are having spontaneous love and attraction to Krishna. And when a Vaidhi Sadhaka becomes qualified, especially after Anarth Nivritti, he is self-realized and now he is more attracted to any of the devotees in the spiritual world based on his mood in Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya or Madhurya. He would like to also emulate that mood. So he starts following these eternal devotees. So the bhakti, what he practices, following in the footsteps of the eternal devotees called as Ragatmika Bhakti, Ragatmikas, that follower is called as Raganuga. And the bhakti is called as Raganuga Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti starts from Shraddha and proceeds up to Rati. When it becomes one with Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti is always forceful. This is the ninth principle. This is the ninth principle. Okay, any questions regarding the ninth Dashamula Tattva? Any questions, any clarifications? Okay, then we'll go to okay, there is one question. Yes, Parsarthi Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Rati means asakti, no Prabhuji?
No, Rati means bhava. Rati means attraction. Asakti means attachment.
Okay.
So there is Nishta. Nishta means firm faith or firmly established. Nishta is a stage of self-realization. Then there is Ruchi. Ruchi means taste. Asakti means attachment to Krishna. And Rati or Bhava is Bhava. So I wanted devotees to ask one question which is based on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's statement. Since you all did not ask, I will speak myself. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying very interesting. Vaidhi Bhakti starts from Shraddha and proceeds up to Bhava. That is one stage less, Asakti, when it becomes one with Raganuga Bhakti. So, in one sense, a Raganuga Sadhaka is not having direct attraction to Krishna. He is attracted to the Brajvasis and he is trying to emulate. That bhakti is called as Vaidhi Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. And when it's not rag towards Krishna, it is rag towards the devotees, the Ragatmikas. And when he attains Bhav, then his attraction, rati or spontaneous devotion actually happens. So that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making. When it becomes one with Raganuga Bhakti, he says. So that's a little technical, but I just wanted you to clarify that. So rati means attraction, and at Bhava, our attraction is almost, you can say 95% or 99% towards Krishna, and there is no attraction towards Maya. Tvayi me ananya vashaya madhupate sakrit ratim udvata adya ganga vegum udanvati. Kuntimanan is also praying like that. Ratim, let my attraction be ananya vishaya, no other object except you. I hope it is clear. Any other questions? Then we can go to the next, last Dashamula Tattva. Any other clarifications? Okay. So now let us go to the last discussion of the 10th. Prem is the Prayojan. Tat Priti Prayojanam. In the Dashamula Tattva it is mentioned. According to the statements of Amnaya, the 10th principle is that Prema is the Prayojan or supreme goal. The stages from sadhana bhakti up to attainment of prema are described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 23, 9 to 13 by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as follows. Now, prema is the goal, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving reference how from Shraddha one goes to prema. So, verse by verse, he is going to quote. Kono bhagye kono jivera Shraddha yadi hoy, tabe se jiva sadhu sangha ei karay. If by good fortune a living entity develops faith in Krishna, he begins to associate with devotees. Sadhu Sangha hoite hoye Shravana Kirtan, Sadhana Bhakti hoye Sarvanartha Nivartan. When one is encouraged in devotional service by the association of devotees in Sadhu Sangha, one becomes free from all unwanted contamination. Sarva Anartha Nivartan, by following the regulative principles. Sadhana Bhakti hoy, and chanting and hearing, Shravana Kirtan. So Shraddha, Sadhu Sang, in Sadhu Sang you do Shravan Kirtan, the limbs of Bhakti you practice, Sadhana Bhakti you practice. And with this practice, slowly, what happens? All the anarthas are being destroyed. Shravan Kirtan is basically bhajan. You start doing bhajan. Sadhu Sangha, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, bhajan kriya, then definitely anarth nivritti happens. Anartha nivritti hoyle bhakti nishta hoy, Nishta hai te shravanadhe ruchi upajay. When one is freed from all unwanted contamination, anarth nivritti hoila, he advances with firm faith. Bhakti nishta hoy. When firm faith in devotional service awakens, nishta hoite, a taste for hearing and chanting also awakens. Shravanadhya ruchi upajay. So right now we don't have taste for hearing and chanting. So that's our state because we are in a disease state. So only when we get taste, then there is a taste for hearing and chanting Krishna Katha. Ruchi hoite bhakte hoy asakti prachur. Asakti hoite chitva janme Krishna priti rankur. After taste is awakened, a deep attachment arises. Asakti prachur. And from that attachment, the seed of love for Krishna grows in the heart. Asakti haite chitte janme Krishna priti ankur. So Krishna prem in the form of a ankur, in the form of a bud, is manifested in the heart. Sei bhava gada hoile dhare prema nam, sei prema prayojan sarvananda dham. When that ecstatic emotional stage intensifies, that bhava which is in the form of bud intensifies, sei bhava gada hoila dhare prema nam. It is called love of Godhead. Such love is the life's ultimate goal. Shri Prema Prayojan, Sarva Ananda Dham, and the reserve of all pleasure. So to prove that Prayojan is Prem, Bhaktivinoda Thakur quoted all these verses. Now he ends his article with few points. Those who have doubts in these 10 principal teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are not qualified for devotional service. Very heavy statement. If first of all you have to understand what are the 10 principal teachings of Mahaprabhu, the Dashamula Tattva, and then you have to hear the philosophy, clear your doubts, and have a clear conception and understanding of the Dashamula Tattvas. And the more you understand it, the more you become qualified for practicing devotional service. When doubts arise, one's devotional service becomes corrupted. Desires are polluted, unwanted results are achieved, and thus everything is ruined. Therefore, those who have a desire for pure devotional service should perform devotional service with firm confidence. Nishchay. So that's the end of the two Dashamula Tattvas, 9th and 10th discussion. So now, because Mahaprabhu is going to answer Sadhya and Sadhana. In first two questions he has answered. Now he's going to answer Sadhya and Sadhana. So that's why I discussed these last two Dashamula Tattvas because it is related. So let's go back to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sadhya and Sadhana. Sadhana is Bhakti, Sadhya is Prem, right? But the flow of discussion in Chaitanya Charitamrita is a little different. Of course, it is the same thing, but the flow is quite a little different. And we will see that how Mahaprabhu is going to answer Sadhya and Sadhana. Again, before we start this, any questions or any clarifications about the last two Dashamula Tattvas? Anyone has any questions? Any clarifications? Okay, so now let us go to Sanatana Shiksha. This is a long section from 120 to 64. Sadhya and Sadhana, how to come out. Mahaprabhu said, because you are now entangled in the Bhairanga Shakti, you are suffering the threefold miseries. Now, how to get out of this entanglement of threefold miseries? Mahaprabhu is going to build that now in this discussion. So part A is 120 to 142 verses where Krishna is Sambandha, Bhakti is Abhiday, and Prem is Prayojan. Mahaprabhu will bring out. This is the next verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sadhu Shastra Kripa Yadi Krishnun Mokohoy Se Jivan Istare Maya Tare Chadiya. So now he is caught up in the Maya. How he can come out of Maya? from the clutches of Maya? Through Sadhu Shastra Kripa. If he gets the mercy of the Sadhu and through Shastra. Yadi Krishna unmukh hoy, he has turned away from Krishna. So then this jiva can be nistare. Nistare means he can be liberated or he can be delivered. Maya tahar chadiya. If the conditioned soul becomes Krishna conscious by the mercy of saintly persons who voluntarily preach scriptural injunctions, sadhu shastra kripa, and help him to become Krishna conscious, the conditioned soul is liberated. Say Jev Nistare from the clutches of Maya, who gives him up. Maya tahar chade. Prabhupada purport is very interesting here. A conditioned soul is one who has forgotten his eternal master. So, Jivera Swarup hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. The Jiva, who am I? I am Jiva. By Swarupa, I am servant of whom? Krishna. So, I have to know who is Krishna. Krishna is my master. So, now I have forgotten my master, right? So, he is that conditioned soul who has forgotten our master. Thinking that he is enjoying the material world, the conditioned soul suffers the threefold miseries of material existence. The reality in this world is that the more we try to enjoy this material world, the more we suffer. Because our constitution is not of an enjoyer, but of enjoyed by Krishna. But we have taken up the position of enjoyer. We are trying to imitate Krishna, and that is why, that is the root cause of our suffering. Saintly persons, sadhus, Vaishnava devotees of the Lord preach Krishna consciousness on the basis of Vedic literature. Sadhu speak from the Shastra. It is only by their mercy that the conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness. It is only by their mercy. There is no other way. When awakened, he is no longer eager to enjoy the materialistic way of life. Instead, he devotes himself to the loving transcendental service of the Lord. When one engages in the Lord's devotional service, he becomes detached from material enjoyment. So, Prabhupada is quoting this verse. This is also like a litmus test for us to realize how much we are performing devotional service. To the degree we are doing devotional service, to that degree we are detached from this material world. And that's why Prabhupada is quoting Bhakti Pareshanubhavo Viraktir Anyatra Chaisha Trika Ekakala. This is the test by which one can tell whether he is advancing in devotional service. One must be detached from material enjoyment. So the degree we are free from material enjoyment, to that degree we are engaged in devotional service. To the degree we have still a lot of desire to enjoy the material world, to that degree is only our devotional service. So devotional service, you can compare this in the form of a weighing scale. Such detachment means that Maya has actually given the conditioned soul liberation from illusionary enjoyment. When one is advanced in Krishna consciousness, he doesn't consider himself as good as Krishna. Whenever he thinks that he is the enjoyer of material advantages, he is imprisoned in the bodily conception. However, when he is freed from the bodily conception, he can engage in devotional service, which is his actual position of freedom from the clutches of Maya. This is all explained in the following verse from the Bhagavad Gita 7.14. So, next verse is 7.14. Devi esha gunamayi mama maya durattaya mameva prapadyante ayametam tarantite. Next. Now Mahaprabhu has mentioned Sadhu and Shastra. And by that, the Jiva can be liberated. So how it happens? Now further in this verse is explaining. Firstly, you have to hear from Sadhu and Shastra, get their mercy, and then surrender to cross it. Devi Eshagunamaya was quoted. In the next verse, the Vedas and Puranas are the mercy of Vyasdev so that the jivas who are entangled in Maya can come out. The conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness by his own effort. Maya mood jivera nahi swata Krishna gyan, but out of the causeless mercy jivera kripa kaila, Lord Krishna compiled the Vedic literature and it supplements the Purans. Krishna jivera kripa kaila Krishna Veda Puran. So here Krishna can also refer to Krishna Dvaipa and Vyas, who compiled all the Vedic literatures. Prabhupada in his purport. I'll just go verse by verse now, and if you have any questions, you're always free to raise your hands. A conditioned soul is bewildered by the Lord's illusionary energy. Devi esha gunamayi, mama maya duratya. Maya's business is to keep the conditioned soul forgetful of his real relationship with Krishna. This is Maya's business. Thus, the living entity forgets his real identity as spirit soul Brahman, and instead of realizing his factual position, thinks himself the product of material energy. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 175, Yaya sammohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manyate nartham tatkritam cha vipadyate. Due to the external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the modes of material, paropi trigunatmakam, thinks himself as a material product. This is the anartha and undergoes the reaction of material miseries. This is the description of Maya's action upon the conditioned soul. Thinking himself a product of material energy, the conditioned soul engages in the service of the material energy in so many ways. He becomes a servant of lust, anger, greed, and envy. In this way, one totally becomes a servant of the illusionary energy. Later, the bewildered soul becomes a servant of mental speculation, but in any case, he is simply covered by the illusionary energy. Out of his causeless mercy and compassion, Krishna has compiled various Vedic literatures in his incarnation as Vyasdev. So, as I mentioned, Krishna also can refer to Krishna Dvaipa and Vyas. Vyasdev is the Shaktavesh avatar of Lord Krishna. He has kindly presented these literatures to awaken the conditioned soul to his senses. Jivara Kripa Kaila. Unfortunately, at the present moment, the conditioned souls are guided by demons who do not care to read the Vedic literatures. Although there is an immense treasure house of knowledge, people are engaged in reading useless literature that will give them no information of how to get out of the clutches of Maya. The purpose of the Vedic literature is explained in the following verses. That is the next following verses, that is 123. Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Janana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivara Hai Gyan. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures. Shastra, the realized spiritual master, Guru, and the super soul, Atma. So Atma has various meanings based on the context. Atma can refer to body, Atma can refer to senses, Atma can refer to intelligence, Atma can refer to determination, Atma can refer to soul, Atma can refer to the supreme soul also, or Atma can refer to the super soul. So here in this context, Atma means super soul. Through these, he can understand the Supreme Personality recorded as his, and he can understand that Lord Krishna is his eternal master, Krishna Mora Prabhu, and the deliverer from the clutches of Maya, Trata. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and can come to understand how to attain liberation. Jivara hoy gyan. So, through Shastra, through Guru, And Paramatma, Krishna educates the Jiva about himself and his relationship. That I am your master, you are my servant. And you can revive your relationship by practicing bhakti. Prabhupada, purport. Let us see this. Being forgetful of his real position, the conditioned soul may take help from Shastra, Guru, and Super Soul within his heart. Krishna is situated within everyone's heart as the Super Soul, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam. As the Satyavesh avatar, Vyasdev, Krishna teaches the conditioned soul through the Vedic literatures. Krishna externally appears as a spiritual master and trains the conditioned soul to become Krishna conscious. So, Shastra, Guru, and Atma. Shastra is given by Krishna. The super soul is Krishna. Guru is also an external manifestation of Krishna. The Chaitya Guru is the super soul who can directly act as a guide. But because we are covered by Maya, we cannot hear the voice of the super soul. So that same super soul within, which is within, manifest without in the form of spiritual master, so that the spiritual master can guide us. So in one sense, the spiritual master is a manifestation of the super soul without. Within means it is there as Paramatma. So we should understand Guru Tattva is, it's a very heavy thing. He is in one sense Krishna. Krishna externally appears as a spiritual master and trains the conditioner to come to Krishna. When his original Krishna consciousness is revived, conditioned soul is delivered from the material clutches. Thus, the conditioned soul is always helped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in three ways: by the scriptures, the spiritual master, and the super soul within the heart. The Lord is the deliverer of all of the conditioned soul and is accepted as the Supreme Lord of all living entities. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So he's a deliverer how? By Sarvadharman Parityajya. This same instruction is found throughout all Vedic literatures. Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru act as the representative of Krishna, and the Krishna conscious movement is also taking place all over the world. Whoever takes advantage of this opportunity becomes liberated. So the Vedic literatures especially emphasize the essence, Sarvadharman Parityajya. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. Now, the concept of Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojan will come up. This is very interesting and we'll have to look into it. Now, in the flow of the Sanatana Shiksha, Shastra is, Vedic literatures. What the Vedic literatures speak? The Vedic literatures speak about three things: Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojan. This is what now Mahaprabhu is going to discuss about Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan. Any questions, any clarifications up till now? Anyone has? What any points or any verses which we discussed? Any doubts you have? So, our okay. So now I will take up this Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan and stop for the day today. There is one question by Tukaram Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Due to my some overlapping timings, I am unable to be regularly attending these classes. But just wanted to know what you are presenting now is based on Sanatana Goswami's teachings, right?
It is based on Mahaprabhu's teachings to Sanatana Goswami.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
These are Mahaprabhu's teachings to Sanatana Goswami. We are dwelling on those instructions.
Correct.
Have I understood it correctly?
Yes.
Yes, that's it, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mahaprabhu, what is teaching Dashamula Tattva. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur has extracted where these Dashamula Tattva are there in the Sanatana Shiksha. So that also we are studying.
Right, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay. So now, Vedas, what does the Vedas teach? The Vedas deal with only three subjects. Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan. संबंध है कृष्ण, भक्ति है अभिदय, प्रेम प्रयोजन. वेद यही तीन वस्तु कहे. In the Vedas you only find these three things. Sambandh. Our sambandh is with Krishna. And how to revive that sambandh? To the process of bhakti, abhidhaya. And what is the ultimate goal? Prayojan. In all the Vedas, you will only find these three subjects. You open the Bhagavad Gita, start studying it based on Sambandha, Abhidhaya, Prayojan, then you will understand. You open any Brahma Samhita, you see based on Sambandha, Abhidhaya, Prayojan. Any book, any Vedic literature will speak about this. So that is why this concept of Sambandha, Abhidhaya, Prayojan is very, very important. In fact, it is the most foundational concept which at the beginning devotee should understand. And that's why in between, I think 2 classes back, we discussed the concept of Sambandha Vidya Prayojan. We did a lot of exercise to understand how to identify the verses based on whether it is Sambandha Gyan or whether there is Abhidaya Gyan given or there is Prayojan mentioned in that. So we did that exercise. But now in the Sanatana Shiksha, what the Vedas speak. वेद शास्त्र का है संबंध अभिधेय प्रयोजन कृष्ण प्राप्य संबंध भक्ति प्राप्य साधन. So Sanatana Goswami had asked sadhan and sadhya and sadhana. So now Mahaprabhu is, how he's building up his answer. Veda Shastra kahe, Vedic literatures give information about the living entity's eternal relationship with Krishna. Krishna Prapya Sambandh, which is called Sambandh. This is called Sambandh. The living entity understanding of the relation and his acting accordingly is called Abhidheya. Bhakti Praptera Sadhana Abhidheya. This is Abhidheya. Returning back to Godhead is the ultimate goal of life and is called Prayojan. Prabhupada is in his translation giving a quite elaborate explanation also, not just translating the verse. Abhidheya Nama Bhakti Prema Prayojan Purushartha Shiromani Prema Mahadhan. Devotional service or sense activity for the satisfaction of the Lord is called Abhidheya because it can develop one's original love of Godhead, which is the goal of life. So sense activity done for the satisfaction of Krishna is bhakti. Sense activity done for one's own satisfaction is called kam. That's it. That's the only difference between kam and bhakti. If you engage your senses to satisfy yourself, then it is kam. If you engage your senses to satisfy Krishna, it is bhakti. Sorry. This goal is the living entity's topmost interest and greatest wealth. Purushartha Shiromani Prema Mahadan. Thus one attains the platform of transcendental serving service to the Lord. So Sambandha, Abhidaya and Prayojan in 2 verses Mahaprabhu has discussed. Prabhupada is giving a purport here. We'll see that. The conditioned soul is bewildered by the external material energy which fully engages him in sense gratification in various ways. So when one is under the control of the external energy, he is engaged in sense gratification. This should be very clear to us. When one is completely in the internal energy, he is completely engaged in the sense satisfaction of Krishna. And because we are Tatastha, we have taken up to devotional service. Sometimes we are engaging in devotional service, sometimes we are engaging in sense gratification. We are caught in between now. Due to engagement in material activities, one's original Krishna consciousness is covered. However, as the Supreme Father of all living entities, Krishna wants his sons to return home back to Godhead. Therefore, he personally comes to deliver Vedic literatures like the Bhagavad Gita. He engages his confidential servants to serve as spiritual masters and enlighten the conditioned living entities. Being present in everyone's heart, the Lord gives the living entities the conscience whereby they can accept the Vedas and the spiritual master. So he gives the inner voice speaks, whatever the Vedas are saying true, have faith in it. Whatever the Guru is saying is true, have faith in it. In this way, the living entity can understand his constitutional position and his relationship with the Supreme Lord. As personally enunciated by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedescha Sarver Aham Eva Vedya. Through the study of the Vedanta, one may become fully aware of his relationship with the Supreme Lord and act accordingly. In this way, one may ultimately attain the platform of loving service to the Lord. It is in the living entity's best interest to understand the Supreme Lord. Very classic statement. It is in our best interest that we should understand the Lord. Unfortunately, the living entities have forgotten that this is in their best interest, and therefore Srimad Bhagavatam says, Nate vidu swargatim hi Vishnu. Everyone wants to achieve life's ultimate goal, but due to being absorbed in the material energy, we waste our time with sense gratification. Through the study of the Vedic literatures, of which the essence is the Bhagavad Gita, one comes to Krishna consciousness. Thus, one engages in devotional service called Abhidheya. When the living entity actually develops love of Godhead, he has reached the ultimate goal, Prayojan. So Prabhupada in the purport is making clear that we have to establish our someone with Krishna and then practice process which is Abhidheya and attain the goal, Prayojan. In other words, when one becomes fully Krishna conscious, one who becomes fully Krishna conscious has attained the perfection of life. So Prabhupada's statement sometimes in the purports we don't scrutinizingly read. So Prabhupada is saying fully Krishna conscious. When one becomes fully Krishna conscious, till then we are not Krishna conscious. We are partially or partly Krishna conscious. Now, text 126. How Krishna is the ocean of rasa, and by acting in relationship with Krishna, we also start experiencing that rasa. So that is explained in next verse. Krishna Madhurya Sevananda Praptira Karan Krishna Seva Kare Ara Krishna Rasa Swadan. When one attains the transcendental bliss of an intimate relationship with Krishna, Sevananda Praptir Karan, he renders service to him. Krishna Seva Kare and taste the mellows of devotion, Krishna consciousness. Ar Kare Krishna Aswadan. So why we are engaged in sense enjoyment? Because there is rasa we are deriving. There is some happiness, but that is temporary and that is a source of misery. But when we inquire why are we suffering, and then the sadhu speaks from the Shastra, and from the Shastra he explains that you are Krishna's part and parcel, Krishna is your master, and you have to revive your relationship with Krishna, and you have to serve Krishna by practicing the limbs of devotion so that you can ultimately attain happiness. So hearing that, when engages in activities of Krishna consciousness, he experiences also a rasa. But this rasa, what he's experiencing is spiritual, and this is actually giving him true satisfaction. So we are all practicing bhakti because we are all also continuing to practice bhakti because we have experienced some taste, some faint glimpse taste of the bhakti ras, which is very, very distinct to any of the highest intoxicating taste of this world. And that's why we're still practicing bhakti. So Krishna is filled with rasa, and Krishna bhakti is filled with rasa. So that's how uh, this attracts, the rasa attracts one to act in relationship to Krishna. Everyone in this world is attracted to rasa, material rasa. The philanthropist, feels love for all humanity and he serves them. So he's doing abhidheya because he's getting that prayojan of, serving all humanity. The husband works very hard for the family because he's deriving a pleasure from the affection of, children and wife. So he's attracted to a certain kind of rasa. So, like that, there is also spiritual rasa in relationship when the bhakt uh, does bhakti to Bhagavan. That's the point, and that's the verse what it is saying. Now, to explain this Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan, Mahaprabhu speaks about a parable. इहायते दृष्टांत है चे दरिद्र घरे सर्वज्ञ आसी दुख देखी पूछाए तहार. So now he starts narrating a parable. The following parable may be given. Once a learned astrologer came to a house of a poor man and seeing his distressed condition questioned him. So why am I suffering threefold miseries? Now when the jiva asks, he has to go to the spiritual master. So here this distress condition living it is who, and the learned astrology is who in the parable. Who will answer this? I hope the question is clear. This parable which is beginning now, who is the spiritual master and who is the distress condition? So it's quite easy. Yes, Radha Jivan, Prabhuji.
Astrologer is a guru
And
Jiva is a distress condition.
yeah, why he's in distress condition? Because he's now in the grip of Maya.
Yes.
Right, very good. So, okay. Now, Prabhupada's purport is very, very interesting here. Sometimes we go to an astrologer or a palmist when we are in a distressed condition or when we want to know the future. Especially when we are in too much distressed condition, only we go to an astrologer or palmist. The living entity is in the condition life is always distressed by the threefold miseries of material existence. See, Prabhupada's statement, it's not that sometimes we are in distress condition and go to astrologer. We are in always distress condition and we have to go to the real astrologer, that is the guru. Under the circumstances, he is inquisitive about his position. For instance, Sanatana Goswami approached the Supreme Personality of God Sri Chaitanya to ask him why he is in a distressed condition. Keno amai tapatraya. He asked this, na? And Prabhupada is saying, this is the position of all conditioned souls. Now, Sanatana Goswami is not a conditioned soul. He is a Nitya Siddha coming from the spiritual fold, but he's representing, he's playing this part of the conditioned souls for us to give lessons. We are always in a distressed condition, and an intelligent man naturally becomes inquisitive. So it's only intelligent men who become, inquisitive and want to do jigyasa. This position is called Brahma Jigyasa. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. When we become inquisitive, we are doing Brahma Jigyasa. Brahma here refers to the Vedic literatures. So here the Veda, Sarvagya, he's speaking from the Vedic literatures. So the Vedic literatures are Brahma. Athato Brahma. Brahma means the Vedas. Brahma is different. Lord Brahma, who's the first creature. It's Brahma. Brahma means Vedas. Brahma here refers to the Vedic literature. One should consult the Vedic literature to know why the conditioned soul is always in distressed condition. Like when we are suffering, we consult the astrologers. So when we are in distress, we should consult the Vedic literature. The Vedic literature are meant to free the conditioned souls from the miserable conditions of material existence. In this chapter, the story of the astrologer Sarvagya and the poor man is very instructive. So this is a very instructive story of the astrologer and the poor man. So let us hear this. Tumi kena duki tomara ache pitradhan, tomara na kahila anyatra chadila jivan. So now from 127, that is that last verse, 127, Drishtanta, till 120, 130, there is Sambandh. Our Sambandh is with whom? Krishna. That is being, these verses in the parable itself, they are speaking about it. Tume kena duki, why are you suffering? Why are you in distress? Why are you unhappy? Tumara ache pitradhan. You have what? The father is very wealthy. Now, here in this parable, the pitradhan, it refers to whom? It refers to whom? Who will answer this? Balabhadra Kripa Prabhuji, are you there?
Pitradhan means Prabhu Hare Krishna. Pranam Prabhu. So our Pitru means our Supreme Father, Krishna.
Yes, excellent. Yeah. So he is telling, although that it meant his own father, but it is in the, for us, it is the Supreme Father. That is, Sambandha. We have to establish our Sambandh with Krishna. Na? So that's why this 127 to 130 are speaking about Sambandh, our Sambandh is with Krishna. Tumara na kahile, he did not disclose this wealth to you. Anyatra chadil jivan, because he died somewhere else. Sarvagyara vakya kare, dhanera uddesh, ache veda puran jiva, Krishna upadesh. Just as the words of the astrologer gave news of the poor man's treasure, the Vedic literatures advise one about Krishna consciousness when one is inquisitive to know why he is in distressed material condition. So this astrologer is giving the news of the treasure which his father has left. So now the Vedas gave information of the Jiva about Krishna. So Krishna is our real Dhan. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna. What is that song? Dhan, something like that. Sarvagyara Vakya Mula Dhana Anubandha Sarva Shastre Upadesha Shri Krishna Sambandha. You saw 128 to 30. How? Sarvagyara Vakya Mula Dhana Anubandha. By the words of the astrologer, the poor man's connection with the treasure is established. So just like that astrologer spoke about the wealth, and this person who is in distress, now his relationship with the wealth is being established. Similarly, the Vedic literatures advise that our real connection is with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarva Shastra Upadesh Shri Krishna Samman. So I hope in this parable, how these few verses, that is 127 to 130, are speaking about Sambandha. So now from 131 to 139, we'll speak about Abhidheya. We'll speak about Abhidheya. Okay, let me see what is the time. Okay, it's almost time. So this I think we'll have to take in the next class because we'll not be able to complete the discussion. So up till Sambandha we have discussed in the parable. I hope the discussion is quite clear. So we will stop now here. Any questions, any clarifications anyone has? Okay then. So we will stop here. श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री सनातन शिक्षा की जय।